When it comes to Step On, the biggest question people have about the boots is if they can work in a regular strapped binding. So in this video, we're gonna see if it can work, when you would wanna ride a setup like this, and if it's ideal to ride a Step On boot in a strapped binding. If you're new here, this is Search of Snowboarding, where we check out the latest gear and go on some awesome adventures. So if you wanna join our growing shred community, go and hit that subscribe button. Now, having checked out a bunch of different Step On boot models, fitting a Step On boot into a regular binding is only gonna work for a few models. And that's gonna be the boots that do not have the ankle strap attached to the boot, just like this DC Step On Judge. And basically the way you can fit a boot without the strap onto a regular binding is simply by removing this one screw on the heel. As you remove this, simply take out the screw, remove the metal clip, and the black cleat will come right out. Now that you have the heel cleat removed on your Step On boot, you can go up on the mountain and shred these to see how it feels. This is something that I experimented with today on my regular setup. The boots seem to fit okay in my bindings, but just for reference, I have a size 9 boot and I am wearing a medium union binding. As far as performance, they did ride pretty okay, although you do get much better performance in a regular snowboard boot in a regular binding, as well as a Step On boot in a Step On binding. Trying to fit a Step On boot into a strap binding, you do lose a little bit of performance because it's not quite the proper fit. With my size 9 boot, I am right in the middle of the scale for a medium union binding, which ranges from a size 8 to a size 10.5 US boot. And with this size, the DC Step On Judge fit pretty well into my medium unions. But I could potentially see an issue if someone has a larger boot. With the toe cleats on the outside of the boot, it may not fit as properly as a normal boot should into a normal binding. That would be the one area where I could see this not working. Now, the one possible concern I would have with this kind of setup is where the toe cleats sit on different bindings. On my bindings, the toe cleats of the boots sat right where both of the toe ladders sat. This wasn't an issue and I didn't feel it, but for someone who tried to ride this every single day, hard all the time, I could see the toe cleat wearing down the ladder more easily, potentially causing it to break. And one of the big questions that you might be asking is, why would somebody want to fit a Step On boot into a strap binding? The biggest reason I can think of is for somebody who is just getting into Step-Ons who has a quiver of boards. Typically somebody who has a large selection of boards has a binding mounted onto each of those boards so that they don't have to switch out every time they go to ride a different board. For someone like this, they may only have one pair of Step On bindings mounted onto one board, and if they want to go ride a different board that has strap bindings, they might consider riding their Step On boot in their strap binding. The only other occasion that I could see somebody wanting to ride this setup is on their split board. They currently do not have a Step On split board binding, but for someone who has a solid board that is set up with Step-Ons and a split board setup, I could see somebody wanting to try their Step On boot in their strapped split board binding. Although typically when you're using your split board, you are relying heavily on your gear, especially if you are in the backcountry. So this would not be ideal having a Step On boot in a strapped split board binding. Through the past seasons, I've tested the Step-Ons extensively. One of the places I've pushed the Step-Ons to the limit is in the park. And if you want to see how well I thought they held up in a park scenario, watch this video right here. But thanks for watching and we'll catch you in the next video. Peace.